Ready. I was born ready.
All right, let's go.
700.
Good evening and welcome to Planning and Zoning meeting for this evening, September the 7th, 2023. Our first order of business will be our public hearing, and that's the Forestdale rezone, zone change -75. Mr. Burks, you bring us up to speed?
As a preliminary matter for this public hearing, I'll ask the publication notice published in the Warren County Record be made part of the record by reference to City Comprehensive Plan, and the City Ordinance be made part of the record by reference, and the Planning and Zoning Officer Report be made part of the record by reference. The Forestdale rezone, ZC 75, Bart Corman of Lewis and Beatty Survey and Engineering had submitted an application on behalf of Warren Center LLC for a change in zoning for a 67.54 acre tract of land on the north side of North Service Road and west of Hawthorne Tree. In the report, there's two maps that show the current zoning, which is, there's 4 or 5 different zoning districts, and then the next one is the proposed zoning. The majority of the parcels rezoned to R1, and the southern part will stay C3, highway commercial. We also have a preliminary plat for that same parcel. The subject property proposed for the residential land use, a single-family home, is currently vacant. It is characterized as a generally wooded area, with steep slopes towards Big Creek along the tract's western border, with dense older growth tree cover, residential to the east, and Interstate I-70 to the south. To the north is an established R1 low-density residential subdivision. Staff has reviewed the request to rezone the subject site to low-density residential R1. All items and notices as required by state and local law have been provided and completed. The proposal is consistent with the future land use map and the policy within the comprehensive plan. Bart Corman here to answer any questions on this project. Do you have any for me?
I don't think so. Mr. Corman, state your name, please.
For the record, Bart Corman, Lewis and Beatty Surveyors and Engineers.
Thanks, sir.
Tim did a good job explaining it, but basically this tract had multiple different zonings on it, and so we're asking to rezone it to consistent with what we're proposing, which is basically an R1 zoning. To do that, it simplifies it and takes care of it. We are asking for the C3 up front that accesses the service road. We're going to have one lot up there that takes care of your retail overlay district and all that stuff as well. And I'll answer any questions anybody may have.
Right there, is that so it's kind of dark there, the bottom part, the red down here?
The bluish purple?
Whatever that is down there at the bottom?
Yeah.
Right there?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a C3?
That's the C3.
Okay.
Yep. And most of that is already zone C3.
Right.
But this cleans it up to match our lots.
Cool. Oh, I see. Go ahead, sir.
Is the terrain there usable?
A lot of it's not. Some of it is, but a lot of it's not. It's just it's kind of a hole right in through some of that, but that's what
My
it is.
question is, some of it that we are changing from, it looks like you're taking that C3 and shrinking some of it there in the corner and pushing that over. So are we taking some developable C3 and pushing it into an area that's really not usable?
So no. So we're actually in the heart of it, where the C is of the C3 of the map, is probably the most usable, and so that's where we're actually pushing commercial further north, and the part that's not as usable, which is the eastern sliver,
Okay.
we're pushing forward. And part of that is the retail overlay district, and so we had the concept originally of taking those residential lots all the way to I-70 there because it's not the best ground. But then we looked at the retail overlay district and we didn't want to confuse a lot of stuff there. And so we decided that it'd be best just to stay commercial up front with that frontage. Probably not going to be used for a whole lot, but that's what we thought was best to make it all work with the zoning requirements we got.
Very good. Any other questions for Mr. Corman? Thank you, sir. Anyone else here to speak? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing for that and open up our public comments section. And the public comments, our first one will be the Forestdale preliminary plat, subdivision -111. Do we have any public comments tonight on that? Ms. Burks, you want to talk about that now, or you want to go ahead? Thanks, Ms. Burks.
So, Mark Carmen of Lewis and Beatty Surveying and Engineering has submitted a preliminary plat application on behalf of the Warren Center LLC for a 67.54 acre tract of land on the north side of the service road west of Hawthorne Tree. This request is to establish 28 single-family residential lots with associated infrastructure to support the development. This is the same tract of land for the rezone. So section 405.080, letter G, the exemption 3, sidewalks will not be required in a situation in which a board of aldermen believe the public safety demands their installation. Plans for this project include an area established for mailboxes. The facility is located outside the right-of-way and easements on a common ground. Final design and facilities approved will be required before final plat approval. The preliminary stormwater design, including curb and gutter draining to storm inlet pipes to the storm retention pond, centrally located on the parcel. The final design ensuring the proposed system is appropriately addressed. The design storm events will submit during a construction improvement plan process. Common ground areas are included on the site. Completion of escrow will be required before approval of the final plat, and the staff has reviewed the proposed preliminary plat and found that the proposal is consistent with Chapter 410 subdivision regulations of the Warrenton Municipal Code. Further, the proposal design of the residential subdivision furthers the goal of the comprehensive plan. Okay.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Burks? Mr. Deitch, if you'd like to step to the podium and state your name, sir, for the record, since we've forgotten what you look like. Welcome back, young man.
John Deitch, adjacent lot owner. First of all, Mr. Corman, can you tell us the name of the developer at this time? Mention the number of lots. Earlier conversation I had with a city official, he indicated to me that probably there would be nothing done as far as ground moving or anything like that, probably until after the first of the year. I guess I would like to know if the developer intends to clear cut, or will some of those trees be left? Those are a couple of questions.
Okay.
The question, I'm her daughter.
You can step up to, and then we'll turn it over to Mr. Corman. Thank you, Mr. Deitch. State your name for the record, ma'am.
Pam Manco.
Pam Mango, thank you.
My mom lives right in the circle, it's the last house. She wants to know, like, where's the road going? Is the road going to come by her house, through her house? Is that going to be the only way in there?
Okay. We'll have Mr. Corman speak to that when he steps up. Okay?
And the drainage problem.
Okay.
There's already a drainage problem.
Thank you. Mr. Corman, you want to step back up and speak on behalf of that, sir?
Sure. For the record, Bart Corman, Lewis and Beatty. Okay, so the owner of this is Warren Center LLC, which is controlled by Rod Thomas. Rod Thomas was a partner in with the Kevens on this property. They decided to part ways, and so they split it down the creek. And so that's why part of the zoning was inside and outside the city limits, and so that's part of why it became that way. And the creek's a natural barrier and a good way to split the property. So kind of do a quick history lesson for some of you guys were on the P&Z board and a lot of you weren't. About 10, 12 years ago, there was an approved apartment complex on part of this ground. Probably 15 to 20 years ago, I had plans in our office to do 8,400 square foot lots on the north half of this, which is the old Butler farm. But since then, a lot of things have changed. Obviously, it's got some terrain to this piece. It's got some floodplain and everything else. So Rod's group says, hey, what can we do with this, and make a good development and everything else. We looked at the terrain, knew that there was concerns to the property owners to the north, that have large lots. I know that we got folks at Hawthorne with moderate, mid-sized lots, and then we also got apartments. So it's kind of a mix, and so what we looked at is doing an R1 development, 1 acre tracts, so we can get some leniency on the stormwater because it's all going to Big Creek. I mean, it's all draining that way, so, and to be able to not have to do sidewalks because R1 doesn't require sidewalks and things like that. And so we also looked at traffic access. So if you kind of look over at the cul-de-sac there at Hawthorne Hills Drive, just do want to let you know, so there was a replat in preparation for those 8,400 square foot lots of a stub street kind of coming up and curling north right away. We're proposing to just come right off that cul-de-sac and extend out, so that cul-de-sac kind of creates a little traffic calming, and then come in, and then there'll be only 27 lots that access Hawthorne Hills Drive. Lot 28 will be that commercial lot that accesses Interstate 70 if it ever gets developed into something. We looked at that. Fire code requires no more than 30 off of a single access, so we're below that. I wanted to make sure that we complied there. But when you do an R1 development, it also minimizes our impact on the ground. So we are going to grade the roadways and probably 50 to 100 foot on each side down through there to get the grades for the roadways. But then the rest of the lots will be pretty much natural, wooded or brush or whatever it is it happens to be in most of those cases. Stormwater, we are going to put a pond in there between lots 23 and 24. That's not obviously going to catch all of it. Some of it's going to run down to that hole towards I-70 and then to Big Creek. And some of it's going to roll into an existing pond in lots 16 and 17. But we're trying to catch as much as we can there in a reasonable fashion coming off of there. So that's it. What did I cover everything or did I miss something? Sure.
Where was the entrance, did you say? The entrance is over here, off of this cul-de-sac right here. Okay. This is the entrance.
Mrs. Deach, go ahead and state your name for the record, sweetheart.
Jean Deach.
Ms. Deach, thank you. You can go ahead and talk, yeah.
Yeah, on the mic.
Yeah, they're,
Talk to me, that's fine.
I'm talking to you. And, okay. Talked about easements. Where are the easements? Nothing to do with, or the dam or anything like that. We live at the end of Buckhorn, at the cul-de-sac, number 9.
Lot number 9?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the lake is just to the right of me,
Right.
over here. No, there's 2 lakes.
Yeah, there's one lake right about here.
And there's the other one where the, is this number 9?
You're
Okay, the lake is there. So then, because there's an easement from our property over the dam to the other street, Hawthorne Hills Drive. All right, so does, Rod, does he own part of that, back of that dam?
There it is.
Of this project?
It's going to be, we're actually going to do a, here.
Yeah.
Green, she's got it.
So the question was, is easements on the backside of the dam from Hawthorne Hills. So if you look, there's also a sewer line there. And so what we've done is we've actually put a common ground strip between Hawthorne Hills subdivision and that sewer line. It's 1/4 acre, but we've kind of created that extra additional buffer, so there's nobody be right up on that. As well as you can't do much between a sewer easement and a property line as narrow as it is. But so that's why we made it common ground to create an additional buffer from Hawthorne Hills. As far as easements across the dam, obviously there's easements for the sewer and the water line there. I don't know of any others, but that doesn't mean that there isn't one that exists. We're really not even touching their dam because we're pretty much all downhill from there.
Anyone on the board have a question for Mr. Corman? Yes, sir. Come forward, state your name. Sorry, I didn't see you there, buddy.
My name is Shane Holt.
Hi, Mr. Hope.
I live at 22. So the erosion problem that we're currently having right now is this water runs this way down the road. You got a puddle here, and then it's eroding everything here. Will anything here be fixed as a part of that? Otherwise, what's going to stop it from going this way and building up in the next cul-de-sac?
Thank you, Mr. Holt.
So right now, the cul-de-sac that does have a puddle in it, it's about 2 inches deep, full of water. Was the other day when I stopped by there. There was a boat there in preparation that got deeper, but I saw that too. Yeah, but anyway, so that we're not really touching the cul-de-sac. We're going to drive off of that. So that low point there, that's the city's, will still be there. We're going to have a low in the new street about 75 foot off that cul-de-sac. Well, about 35 feet off the cul-de-sac. I had to change it a little bit. But if you notice, if you go out there, there's a swale in that lot just north of the apartments between the cul-de-sac and that wraps around slowly and then goes up and it goes behind the dam. And so that natural water course will be maintained and go behind the dam. So no plans for any additional water to go into the Hawthorne Hills Lake. It's going to go down that hill into the stormwater pond that we have between lots 23 and 24. So, but it will take a natural path once it gets past the new road that we're putting in.
Good questions. Thank you.
No, it doesn't solve the existing issue that you got, but
It doesn't contribute any more to it.
we're not planning on to contribute anything.
What about the traffic issue? That's why it's going to funnel all that traffic through that road. There's no way out onto the service road.
You gotta come
Oh,
on.
I'm sorry.
It's all recorded, so otherwise nobody's gonna hear you.
We just want the,
I want to know about the, Pam and Co. I want to know about the traffic. Is it going to funnel all on in front of our house in Hawthorne, or is it going to go out to the service road? Is there only one way in and one way out? Is kind of what I'm.
thank you.
Yes, and so for 27 out of the 28 lots, they will access Hawthorne Hills Drive off that cul-de-sac. So there's only one way out. but we're talking about 27 lots on almost 60 acres. I forget the acreage on this, like 57 acres or so, 67 acres. So, for example, on the existing zoning of R2 and R3, we could do 10,000 square foot lots. So about, in realistic, three lots an acre. So we've scaled that way back to reduce that traffic impact and only have one access, as well as to minimize the impact on the existing road structure.
You say there's one way in and out to this property, but then once they hit that cul-de-sac, they can either go out to 47 or they can go through the old Hawthorne.
Yeah, they could go through Hawthorne or they could go down to the service road. So they get to split with after 200 feet, yeah.
So I have a question, and you got, somebody will have to correct me. I thought we have a requirement to have 2 entrances in subdivisions, or is that for a different zoning?
So normal, once you get over 30 lots, then you need to have a second access or stub. And so that was part of looking at all the different parameters of this development, why we went with this layout, to keep under that. Because if you go, I'll be honest with you, if we went to 2 of them, then we'd be doing the R2 and R3 stuff, doing some heavy grading, clearing, the whole works, because then you got to recoup all those additional costs by creating density. And until final plans are done, I don't even know economically at what price point these lots can be at to make it work even with this because of the acreage. But that's why we're going with this approach, is to minimize that.
I do like the acre lot size on that.
I was going to say, these
good.
are acreage that they're subdividing it towards, correct?
Yeah, so I mean, I even got a 4.7 acre lot in here.
Yeah.
Now granted, half of it's in the floodplain.
Sure.
Okay, I'm not going to sell that. You're going to be able to build on all 5 acres of that.
Right.
But it gives you total buffer there. It gives you a large lot, and very convenient to the town of Warrenton. So,
Yeah.
So we're hoping we can get a premium for that to justify the expenses of development.
Maybe a lake?
Thank you, Mr. Corbin. Anyone else? All right, we'll close that public comment section and move on to our second public comment, and that's the Keven Infield Subdivision Preliminary and Final Plat Subdivision -114. Mr. Burks?
Keven Infield Subdivision Preliminary and Final Plat. Keven Family Partnership has submitted an application for a preliminary and record plat for 3.3 acres of land north of West Veterans Memorial Parkway and east of the West Warrenton Boulevard roundabout. The preliminary plat application is to create a new commercial lot that has been submitted in conjunction with a record plat. The subject site is Zone C3 Highway Commercial. The subject site is surrounded by C3 Highway Commercial to the north and west, Ag 1 reserved to the south and southeast, and C3 Highway Commercials to the west. Future development and/or subdivision of the larger parcel will be required. The submission of a new preliminary plat showing proposed lot configurations. Staff would note the following features: utilities, water, sewer, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer exist on Veterans Memorial Parkway to serve the proposed lot. Proposed preliminary and record plat is consistent with Chapter 410, the subdivision regulation of the Warrenton Municipal Code, and the commercial subdivision proposed design furthers the comprehensive plan goals. Any questions?
I don't at this time. Does anyone else want to speak on behalf of that one tonight? Mr. Corbin, you in charge of that one too? All right.
Conveniently.
For the record, Bart Corman, Lewis and Beatty. This is Keven Family Partnership LP, which is Gene Keven and his kids Lisa Redding, Scott Keven, and Jeff Keven. This is the little infield location, eyebrow, whatever you want to call it, between West Veterans Memorial, I-70, and the Jerry Dyer Memorial overpass there. It's graded nice and flat on top, ready for commercial development. But we had to clean this all up because of all the different land swaps, and to make this the overpass project work, and so we're cleaning this up with a one-lot subdivision for everything inside that area.
Sounds good. Thank you. Any more questions at this time? Anyone in the community like to speak at behalf of this one at this time? Seeing none, we'll close our public comments for the night and open up our Planning and Zoning Commission meeting with our minutes from the August 3rd, 2023 meeting. Anybody got any questions or comments about the minutes? Entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the August 3rd meeting.
I'll second that.
Got a motion by Mr. Dieterman, second by Mr. Cooper to approve the minutes as submitted. Any questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Mr. Cullum?
Abstain, I was absent.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Priest is absent. Mr. Dieterman?
Yes.
Mr. Cornell?
Yes.
Mrs. Cullum?
Yes.
Ms. Madden? Yes. And Mr. Costello is absent.
Motion passes 7-0 with 2 absent and 1 abstention. Next order of business will be the Forest Dale rezone, zone change -75. That we just discussed in the open session. Does anybody have any further questions about the zone change going on at this time?
So I just have one more, just,
Sure, go ahead.
we're rezoning to R1.
Right.
That's what we're kind of consolidating it into, correct? And C3, was that previously C3? And it's staying C3?
It was previously C3. It changed a little bit, the size of it.
If you look at the map on the thing. Oh, I see that now. Okay.
So there's a current.
We're extending the C3. Okay,
Yeah, they're changing the shape of the C3.
okay. Thank you.
Because it used to be a whole bunch, like the R2, the R3, the C3, so we're just changing this to make it more conducive to the product that they're trying to put in there. Makes sense. And it's more favorable to us, I think.
There was 5 different zoning districts in
Yep.
that one piece.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing, I think that's what's moving forward with this, yeah. Anybody else have any questions or comments about the Forest Dale rezone -75? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Forestdale subdivision rezoning as displayed and discussed.
We have a motion by Mr. Cullum, a second by Mr. Cornell to approve the Forest Dale rezones -75 as submitted. Any other questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Dieterman?
Yes.
Mr. Cornell?
Yes.
Mrs. Cullum?
Yes.
Ms. Madden? Yes. Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0 with 2 absent. And this will all come in front of the Board of Aldermen on
19th?
September 19th? 19th. So for anyone interested in being at the next meeting, it'll be September the 19th. Next order of business will be the Forest Dale preliminary plat subdivision -111. Any further questions about what was discussed?
These we're just approving the lines of the subdividing, correct?
Just the
The
preliminary plat.
the acreage and, okay. Thank you.
Make motion to approve the preliminary plat as submitted.
Second it.
We have a motion by Mr. Cornell, second by Mr. Durbin to approve the Forest Dale preliminary plat subdivision 111. Any other further questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Dieterman?
Yes.
Mr. Cornell?
Yes.
Mrs. Cullum? Yes. Ms. Madden? Yes. Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes, motion passes 8-0, and that'll also be on September the 19th in front of the Board of Aldermen. And last but not least, the Keven Infield subdivision preliminary and final plat subdivision -114. Anybody have any questions or comments at this time about what was
I
discussed?
have one question.
Go ahead.
I forgot to ask.
You're fine,
earlier.
sis.
What was gonna get built on this? What's the plan on this?
I heard it was a Red Lobster, but. That's a rumor
Don't
I'm
start
spreading.
rumors. This is how rumors get started.
Try a case.
Sure. It's for sale. Currently, they're in contract negotiations with somebody that's interested, but I don't know if that's finalized, and it's definitely not public record, so I can't really say anything with that. But if you want to buy it, I'm willing to bet that they'll talk to you.
So what are we approving? I know this is a commercial site today,
Right.
correct?
It's already, yeah, it's zone commercial. We're not asking for it to change to anything other than commercial. So we're just basically approving the boundaries that are really already set by the roads.
Yeah.
It's just, this cleans it up with a plat, so it makes it a legal conforming lot inside the city limits of Warrenton, because it's really, it's a remaining tract of a bunch of pieces that were sold off for right-of-way acquisition. And so when you're in those negotiations with attorneys and title companies and everything else, they'd like to see a clean plat, and so that's what we're doing.
Okay, so we're
to do
really just
that.
the lines.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Corman.
And whatever else if whatever they
It comes up.
negotiated, and if they need to build something, it still comes back here.
Yeah, they will come back to
All
rent.
right, so we don't know yet if it's a lobster.
Well, for the record, right. All right, anyone else have a question for Mr. Corman or anyone else? Entertain a motion?
I entertain a motion to approve
Like this.
final, what is it? Keven Infield subdivision preliminary and final plat subdivide 114.
Second that.
I have a motion by Ms. Cullum and second by Mr. Cooper to approve the Keven Infield subdivision preliminary and final plat subdivision -114. Any other further questions? Roll call vote.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Dieterman?
Yes.
Mr. Cornell?
Yes.
Ms. Cullum?
Yes.
Ms. Madden? Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0, and that will also come in front of the Board of Aldermen on September the 19th. We'll close the meeting and I'll turn it over to Mr. Burks for any comments or questions.
Time, there's no projects on the agenda for next month.
Anyone else have anything for the good of the group? Mr. Cornell, you have taken over for Mr. Deach. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'd make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Second.
Second by Ms. Cullum. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks for coming out. Good night. Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.